Welcome back to the 94th online episode of Peacetime, hosted every Sunday morning by Peace Point with myself, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, coming to you today from DIMC in Azusa, California. Instead of our usual anthology of important suttas from the Buddhist scriptures, today we'll allow ourselves to be temporarily sidetracked for what might be considered a special Olympic Games edition of our usual program on a sporting theme. So I estimate today's session will run to about 60 minutes with a 30-minute break halfway through for some meditation. So there are many good reasons to cultivate the meditation habit, and it turns out that one of the latest fads for meditation cultivation actually comes from the sports industry. And full disclosure up front, I am not claiming to be an expert on this particular industry. I'm probably what youngsters these days would term a NARP. You know what a NARP is, right? A non-athletic regular person, yeah. So I'm not an expert from the sports industry. A long time ago I did dabble, however, in such things as running half marathons very slowly, some judo, and a lot more cycling. But what put me in mind of the crossover between sports and meditation was mostly a group of our young meditating footballers from Mount San Antonio College, Mount SAC for short, who often join our in-person classes. Their enthusiasm to give themselves a competitive edge through meditation reminded me of some crossovers between sport and meditation with research done a long time ago by Transcendental Meditation that was the subject of a New York Times article back in 1975. Meditation has gone a lot more mainstream since then, so I thought I would dig a little bit deeper to see whether I could bring everyone up to date with the benefits of meditation for sports performance, especially as we are currently paying a lot of attention to the Paralympics. And in short, it turns out that yes, meditation does seem to be figuring more and more prominently in the training of professional athletes. I'm not sure if the writing on the slide is a bit too small for you to read, and I realize a few of them have long since gone into retirement, but here we have Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, Kerry Walsh, LeBron James, Barry Zito, Cristiano Ronaldo, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady. All have been known to endorse meditation as contributing to their athletic performance, even though it might seem counterintuitive to think that just sitting down, closing your eyes and not moving a muscle could contribute anything to a very physical and mobile performance in some sort of competitive sport. Nonetheless, it does seem to be the case that more and more prominently, meditation has been recommended by sports coaches to their trainees. In one particular case, we have Heather Casey, previously known as Heather Hagan, who coaches triathlon. In fact, she completed the 5 times the Ironman triathlon, is presently an Ironman regional head coach and U.S. National Triathlon Level 2 coach. She explained, the bike racing is always physically hard, but the mental part can be even harder. And this is where meditation somehow comes into its own as an important factor to give athletes an edge on their competition, where it comes down to basically the state of mind that you bring to the race or the event. Another factor seems to be the additional energy, given that some people have estimated that 20 minutes of good meditation can actually be equal to 8 hours of deep sleep. So you can imagine the sort of potential for bouncing back offered even by a short meditation, especially for someone who is competing at national or international level. So Heather Casey went on to say that meditation has helped so much. I've had athletes say it's the only reason they were able to compete in triathlon races was because they were equipped with the mental preparation I'd had them do to build up their self-esteem and confidence for the day. Most triathletes are type A persons, more outgoing, impatient, or aggressive, and I found that we could use meditation as a way to have them sit in a room away from the noise and have the time for reflection. So, meditation for many of these athletes is not only a form of decompression, but also private time away from their kids or from their business. And in this connection, my initial research allowed me to find as many as 11 possible ways in which meditation can help athletes boost their sports performance. So I should mention that for each of these benefits, I've tried to cite recent academic literature that contains proof of the benefit I'm talking about. So anyone who's interested can go away and look those up in more detail or complete a dissertation on it. So the first benefit of meditation for sport is stress reduction. You would probably expect this anyway, considering all the meditation research on stress outside the sporting context. Even for our own Dhamma meditation, it's known that 6 weeks of meditation can reduce stress levels on many different counts, whether it's reduced cortisol in the blood, reduced blood pressure, or reduced heart rate. All the things which tick the boxes for stress reduction seem to be reduced by meditation generally, and this is also the case for competing athletes. So the paper I've cited for you is Wang et al.'s 2023 paper on the effects of mindfulness-based interventions on promoting athletic performance and related factors among athletes. The second benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it helps with focus. So there's something in sport known as a flow state, which is when an athlete gets in the flow and they're able to focus on the game completely and nothing else is bothering them. They are totally focused on what they're doing, and somehow that state becomes more accessible when you are a meditator with increased mindfulness. So the paper I've cited is Heckman's 2018 kinesiology paper on the effect of mindfulness and meditation in sports performance. Third benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it helps stabilize emotions. Does anyone recognize this sprinter? Well, it's Sha'Carri Richardson, and apparently she is also a meditator. But the most interesting thing about her is immediately before competing in the Tokyo Olympics, she was bereaved. Her biological mother passed away. So normally when she should have been quite severely afflicted by grieving the loss of her mother, but actually because she was a meditator, she bounced back and won the 100 meters. Unfortunately, she tested positive for THC, so she didn't get a medal last Olympics, but she scored silver this time round. Nonetheless, everyone was amazed by how resilient she was because she was able to stabilize her emotions being a meditator. So she was able to put negative emotions to one side to perform better. So the paper I've cited is Bolso and Akhtar's 2014 paper in Happiness and Wellbeing on mindfulness meditation training for sports intervention in female athletes. The fourth benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it reduces mental rumination. So I expect all of you have heard about the monkey mind. Well, the monkey mind is a sort of random thinking without end. But worse still is rumination, where we go over and over the same negative emotion or thought, like a scratched record. We ruminate over the same thing endlessly, unable to break out of that cycle of negative thinking. If athletes get stuck in a negative rut in their thinking, then it can be quite disastrous for their performance. On the contrary, if they are more aware of the nature of the thoughts going through their head, without having an attachment to those, then they have the option to sort of constantly reset the mind in order to focus on what's in front of them, instead of the possibility for catastrophe. The mindful athlete can prevent those negative emotions taking over and avoid obsessive rumination. So the paper I've cited is Chambers et al.'s 2008 Cognitive Therapy and Research paper entitled The Impact of Intensive Mindfulness Training on Attentional Control, Cognitive Style and Effect. The fifth benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it enhances endurance. In this respect, there's an interesting book by someone called Matt Fitzgerald entitled How Bad Do You Want It? And subtitled Mastering the Psychology of Mind Over Muscle, which I've cited here. So sometimes the meditation to boost endurance actually involves visualization. Not like our visualization, which is visualization just to focus, basically visualizing a winning outcome. So it's like a sort of mental rehearsal in your mind, where you mentally picture being the first to hit the winning tape or whatever. So if you've gone through that in your mind 100 times already, then when you come to the big race, the outcome you visualized has a bigger chance to actually manifest itself, to use a trendy expression. So that's one way in which meditation can help you enhance endurance for accomplishing specific objectives or goals as an athlete. In addition, it's been found more generally that those who meditate can also train the body to work harder for a longer period of time, either in training or competition, to go the extra mile, push through the pain, or surge ahead in the race. So this is why sports coaches may include meditation as part of their training routine. So having come around halfway through the benefits of meditation for sports performance, before continuing, let's take a break halfway and settle ourselves for 30 minutes of meditation, which today is a live recording of the meditation from our recent outdoor candlelight event in Azusa, accompanied by a chorus of crickets and frogs that were meditating nearby. So, if at this time you would like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself as you listen to my guidance. So if you'd like to, start by finding a comfortable position for yourself in the meditation practice. Sitting up fairly straight with our 2 feet flat on the ground if we can, and our hands resting palm upwards in our lap. Adjusting our body in order to be able to forget about it as much as possible. We attempt to find a position for ourselves by which we feel alert and yet relaxed. Not leaning too far forward nor too far back. Not leaning to the right nor to the left, but finding a position of poise for ourselves. Making sure our breathing and our circulation are relaxed and unimpeded. And adjusting the position of our body to minimize any possible aches or pains. And at this point, if we haven't already done so, we might gently close our eyes. Closing our eyes in much the same way we close them in order to go to sleep. And then we scan down through our body, relaxing each and every muscle as we go. Starting at our forehead, relaxing any tension in the muscles there. Relaxing our eyebrows and our eyelids. Making sure our eyes are only very gently closed. From there we can allow the muscles of our face to become soft. Relax our neck and let our shoulders drop to their natural height. Relaxing both arms and forearms, all the way down to our hands and our fingers. From there we can relax all the muscles of our torso, chest, trunk, and the muscles throughout our core. Relaxing both legs, all the way down to our feet and our toes. So there's no remaining part of our body with any sort of stress or tension anymore. Almost as if any knot of tension we might be feeling in our stomach has loosened itself and slipped away. And any pit of unfulfilled longing in our heart has gradually and without our really noticing been filled in, patched like a pothole. Not quite the same as it was, but good enough. Leaving ourselves with a feeling almost as if our body has melted away into the atmosphere around us. So we have no further worries about our body anymore. And once our body is completely relaxed, we can also turn our attention to relaxing the mind. Remembering to keep this journey of meditation simple and uncluttered. Remembering there's no carry-on luggage allowed. And the easiest and most efficient way to lighten up our mind is to forget temporarily about all possible worries or concerns in our everyday life. No matter whether it be thoughts of work, friends, family, studies, or any other thing. Not thinking about plans for the future, and not thinking about any regrets from the past. By keeping our mind entirely in the present moment and connecting with the experience of sitting with our eyes closed out of doors. And whoever we might be, just by stepping out of doors tonight, outside the security of the rooms inside, we have opened ourselves up to the infinity of the night. And although our eyes are so used to artificial light that they may have forgotten how to see by starlight, but with our inner mind's eye, we can take in the great expanse of the heavens above in a way that frees us to comprehend the truth and set us finally free. So we pick up on that sense of happiness and joy, the freedom we feel from being unencumbered by four walls around us. Perhaps casting our mind back to a time in our lives when we felt truly happy, as if that feeling were composed of tiny particles of happiness and joy, completely filling the mind, allowing us to feel refreshed on the inside. As we cherish that feeling of happiness and joy inside us, just for a few moments. As if all the happiness were radiating outward from the center of ourselves. As if our mind were completely empty of worries. And when we feel relaxed and refreshed, both in body and in mind, very gently and using no effort at all, we welcome our awareness back from its wandering It may return in pieces or in tatters, but we gather the pieces together within us. And those fragments of our mind will be happy to be back together again after being lost for so long. And to this end, we allow our attention to settle and center to a point somewhere around the middle of our stomach, as if our whole body were just an empty space or a hollow cavity, without any muscles or tissues, without any organs or bones. And again, very gently, without using any effort at all, we cast our mind back again to that picture of our mind, perhaps of a bright shining candlelight. And if it's not very clear to us, we can always take a sneak peek at the candlelight around us, and then gently close our eyes again. And what we're aiming for is an inner image that we have without holding on to it. Having without holding. And for that imaginary candlelight inside us, we might imagine the candle flame shining from the very center of our stomach, shining from inside, holding the object very gently in our mind, with a minimum of gentle attention, as continuously as we can, for as long as we can, and without letting the mind wander anywhere else, if we can help it. If the mind should wander to sounds around us, to sensations in our body, or thoughts in our head, as soon as we realize, we simply bring our mind back again to the center of the body as before. And if we're new to meditation, whether our mind wanders 100 times or 1,000 times, we should pay no attention to how frequently the mind tends to wander. It's our job merely to bring the mind back again to the center of the body and continue as before. If our inner object disappears, we can conjure up a new one. It doesn't really matter whether we see the object clearly or not. We can just make do with that object, even if we cannot perceive it clearly, even if it's only partly visible, even if it seems to remain in the shadows, even if it's not as clearly seen as with the naked eye. At the same time, we avoid entertaining any thoughts in the mind. And sometimes as if we were just resting in the trough of a wave between the thoughts. And if we are silent in our mind, we can keep our energy at the low part of the wave, just noticing the shape of things and the flow. Just accepting the drift of things and shifting away from the endless temptation to get entangled in that thicket of thoughts. So staying with the space between the thoughts, instants when the mind is still inventing the next thing it's going to think about. But if we find that the mind is still swirling around with thoughts in the head like bees in a hive, it might be necessary for us to make use of that traditional mantra, silently repeating to ourselves the sound of the words such as Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, over and over again. The sound of the mantra seems to come like a sound of music resonating from the center of our body, for as long as it takes for the thoughts to die down to a manageable level. So for now we keep our mind on track at the center of our body, resting the mind gently, lightly, with whatever inner image or feeling we've managed to capture there. Each our own practice in silence for a few more moments now, until we come to the appropriate time.
Continue to keep our mind gently at the center of the body, lightly checking in with whatever inner experience we've built up for ourselves as a result of the meditation so far this evening. For some people, that inner experience may be some sort of inner feeling of well-being that gradually becomes clearer at the center of the body. Or it may be a sort of hazy illumination, maybe a sense of light without any particular form inside us. Or it may be some sort of imagery, perhaps like the candle flame that we started out with, or perhaps something new that has emerged on its own. But whatever we have at our center, we place our mind very gently in the middle of that. Very gently at the center of the inner experience. And by touching very gently with our awareness, what we'll find is that there is a spreading outwards of that inner experience from the central point. Almost like an energy radiating outward in all directions from the point of contact. And we can visualize this pure energy at our center, taking the form of a crystal sphere that grows larger in size until it encapsulates the whole of our own body. As we emanate a positive intention toward ourselves, full of love and self-compassion, a sense of going easy on ourselves. And again, from our center, we can allow the same sphere to extend beyond ourselves, growing larger, reaching out to those around us, reaching out to the whole neighborhood, reaching out further into the world, again emanating that positive intention, as if pure energy is spreading outwards in all directions all around us, full of love and compassion toward all, with the wish that those with suffering become free of any sadness and pain, and with the wish that those already experiencing happiness will be happier still. We can emanate our positive intentions across the whole country, to neighboring countries, all the continents of the world, across the entire globe and beyond, wishing everyone everywhere be well and happy, dwelling in peace. And although we might think that our positive energy is minuscule compared with the problems of the whole wide world, with its firemen and its rubble, its confusion and its fallen, the pigeons without food, the people of the camps, those who have nowhere to sleep. In the face of such adversity, we emanate positivity, wholeness, intact friendship, waging peace on the world, like candlelight pushing back the darkness, with the pure intention that our loving kindness help all to regain their footing in the world, to gain clarity amidst confusion, compassion in the face of cruelty, offering refuge or just a place of uplift to those who are feeling down, So we make good wishes for ourselves and for others, extending ever outwards with brightness and goodwill as we share this peaceful energy for the benefit of all we know, and even towards those that we don't know, ever wider across the universe, for the last few moments of our meditation together. Sappa Buddhanupavena, Sappa Dhammanupavena, Sappa Sanghānupavena, Sattha Soti, Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. And if you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position before gradually finishing your practice. So to gently pick up where we left off with our review of the benefits of meditation for sports performance, we come now to the sixth benefit meditation brings to sports performance, which is that it improves sleep patterns and speeds recovery time. Of course, with any sort of sports, there is a possibility of injury or fatigue. Your muscle fibers actually get torn as they become more resilient. So there's a tearing and breaking before they rebuild themselves stronger than before. So you can imagine that, physically speaking, in competitive sports, there's a lot to recover from. But what has been found is that apart from sleeping it off, if you are a meditator, there's a quicker recovery from training, racing, and even injury. Also, for a lot of competitors who are not able to sleep very well on the night before the big race or event, meditation actually helps their sleep to be unaffected. Furthermore, meditation helps athletes to avoid unwanted weight gain, mood disturbance, anxiety or depression, inability to focus or concentrate, and decreased motor control, which might come from tiredness. For the citations, I've included a 2020 article from Jones et al. About female rowers sleeping better, having been introduced to mindfulness-based stress reduction. And there is also an older article from Salzberg et al. About stress reactivity to and recovery from standardized exercise for runners practicing relaxation techniques. The seventh benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it helps deal with fear. Fear can hijack an athlete's mind, especially fear of failure or of injury. So it said meditation reduces fear in sports performance concerning self-doubt, others' judgments, or even harsh self-criticism. And the book I've mentioned here describes a certain sort of meditation that has been adapted specifically for sports training called MMTS. So I've already heard of MBCT and MBSR. Well, now we've got MMTS, which stands for Mindfulness Meditation Training in Sport. So if you didn't know before, you know it now. So the particular 2018 book I'm citing is by a couple of scientists called
also in Summers, entitled Power of Mindfulness, Mindfulness Meditation Training in Sport. The eighth benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it improves the athlete's sense of identity, self, and the body. The author I've cited here, called George Mumford, is particularly famous for adapting meditation to sports training. He wrote a 2015 book called The Mindful Athlete: Secrets to Pure Performance. We'll come back to George Mumford again in just a moment, but the thing which is dealt with by mindfulness in this aspect of sports performance is what's known as blind spots, where basically you make mistakes because of lack of judgment, or you just didn't see something coming, because of general lack of awareness, or failing to plan for possibilities of what might happen. Meditation helps counter this by enhancing awareness apparently of each and every muscle which you use in your sport, improved mind-body connection, and allowing you to discover your optimal zone of performance. Furthermore, it can help you to avoid anxiety, depression, and another thing which is quite serious for athletes is vulnerability during transitions, either into professional sport or out of it again, because of all the expectations heaped on them or just by their sense of self-identity, when they can't help thinking, I'm an athlete, so I'm going to be that all my life. But when they eventually find out that their fitness level doesn't allow them to be a lifelong athlete, the self-image consequences can be very tragic in some cases. So if you've been injured, how do you get your mind around that in order to do the work on your recovery and get back in the game again? It's just one aspect of knowing yourself, in other words, transitioning back into sport after the injury, or maybe reflecting on yourself to realize that you're getting too old for it and transitioning out of the sport again. Again, all this needs a certain level of self-knowledge. The ninth benefit meditation brings to sports performances is that it helps athletes cope with pain. So I should ask some of you athletes listening in whether playing sport can sometimes be painful. I recently saw one of our Mount Sac footballers enduring many weeks in an arm brace. So, for the likes of you, there's a 2015 paper, particularly on this point, by Zaiden et al., entitled Mindfulness Meditation-Based Pain Relief Employs Different Neural Mechanisms than Placebo and Sham Mindfulness Meditation-Induced Analgesia, where meditators apparently cope with pain or deal with pain in a more constructive way than non-meditators. The 10th benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it strengthens your immune system. Well, we know about this connection anyway because we all know that doing sport boosts immunity in itself. I don't have a particular paper on this concerning sport, but there is a 2021 paper from Chandran et al. Entitled Robust Activation of the Immune System Following Advanced Inner Engineering Meditation Retreat. Nonetheless, it has been found that not only does sport boost your immune system anyway, but also your immune system can be further boosted by meditation practice as well. Lastly, from a paper I was given to peer review recently, I learned about one final aspect of sports performance that benefits from meditation. It turns out that the 11th benefit meditation brings to sports performance is that it strengthens emotional intelligence for teamwork. So up to now, I've been talking solely about individual competition and performance, but another challenge presented by certain sports is working with teammates. Good teamwork requires a certain degree of emotional intelligence in order to get along with teammates, have a sense of where your teammates are located at any time, and how best to work with them without personal conflicts getting in the way of team achievement. So it turns out that there are a lot of very recent papers on how meditation has boosted emotional intelligence for team players. So just as in team sports, meditation is very important on the emotional side. Even on a personal level, heightened emotional intelligence helps athletes to avoid dropping out before they can turn professional. So the 2019 paper I've included to illustrate this one is by Gilchi et al. Entitled Apply Mindfulness Training to Enhance the Mental Toughness and Emotional Intelligence of Amateur Basketball Players. So to round up today's little review of meditation and sports literature, I thought I'd finish off with a real-life story that you can maybe put a face to. I wonder if some of you recognize this guy. So Chicago Bulls and latterly LA Lakers basketball coach Phil Jackson is seen as a little bit of a poster boy for meditation in the sports domain. As you can see from his nickname, the Zen Master, he actually was one of the all-time winning coaches for the NBA, for teams that won 11 championships. And the thing he's renowned for is using mindfulness and meditation to help train his teams. George Mumford, who I mentioned earlier in connection with MMDS, was also Phil Jackson's advisor. So this is where a lot of the excitement about meditation in sport is generated. Apparently, apart from meditation, Phil Jackson used some especially unique ways of training his sports teams. He was once interviewed by Oprah, who asked him, "Would you literally get your guys to sit in stillness?" And he said, yes, not only regular sitting meditation, but that meditation also taught his players mindful posture, how to hold their hands, how their shoulders had to be, and the whole process of being upright in a situation so they're not slouched, and that even these byproducts were a useful part of the mindfulness training. By any other name, this would be called mindfulness of the body. Phil Jackson also has some even more quirky training methods that Oprah also picked up on. Phil said that he sometimes would get his team to train in unfamiliar situations. Once he turned out all the lights in the stadium and had them train in near darkness. So he went a little bit Star Wars on them, but what the players learned was to recognize the positions of their fellow players almost by sixth sense. So even without having to use their eyesight, they could sense where each other were. Another really interesting way of training his team was from time to time to insist on silent basketball games, because he said that a lot of the team got distracted just by them being very mouthy and chattering a lot during the game, which meant that they weren't fully focused on what they were doing, like they were running their own commentary the whole time. So he had them train in silence from time to time. So in conclusion, if you never thought about being an athlete, since you are already experts in meditation, you maybe have a good shot at getting yourself in shape for the LA Olympics. Yay! But only if you keep up the meditation in the meantime, because there are so many ways in which meditation can give you the edge in athletic performance in individual and team sports alike. So as I happen to be recording a segment with in-person publicity, I'll finish today's presentation with an updated PSA on upcoming Peace Point activities. So if you're new to meditation today and found it beneficial, then I would encourage you, instead of this being just a one-off, to try to incorporate meditation into your daily routine, starting with 20 minutes of meditation at a time of the day which for you has a good energy and when you are not going to be interrupted by other tasks. Maybe first thing in the morning to get a good start to your day, maybe last thing at night if you're having problems sleeping, or even during your lunch break if you have a stressful job. Once you start to build a short meditation into your daily routine, you may find you have good days and bad days. But if you can start out with 20 minutes every day, then little by little it will become easier and you'll be able to go further in the time available, until you will have the inclination to want to increase the time of meditation for yourself as you improve. If you are still hazy about the meditation technique, we have an app for that called MindGem, which you can download for free onto your cell phone. And when I say free, I mean don't let anyone charge you money for that. At last count, MindGem had more than 200 audio tracks on it, which you can follow along with as you meditate with different English-speaking teachers from our lineage, and it even works offline. The tracks are of different lengths and include different ways into the center of the body for you to experiment with. And it also has a timer, which is quite handy for keeping track of your meditation time. If you're left with questions as a result of your meditation and you want to get advice, or if you just want to have some company while meditating, we run regular classes at DIMC Azusa throughout the year, every Thursday evening between 7 and 8 p.m. in the Luo Ballroom of the main building here in Azusa, and every Sunday morning in the main chapel between 9 and 11 a.m. We hold a kids event every third Saturday of the month. The next one is coming up on August the 17th. The kids, often accompanied by parents, will come along at 11 a.m., have a potluck lunch together where they bring along the sort of food which kids like to eat to share with their friends. So we accept kids right from the age of 4 up to teenage. They gather after lunch at 12:30 at the Sunday school behind the main building for a bite-sized, usually 10 minutes meditation, then hear a Buddhist story, join a character building discussion, and if they want to stay on at 1:30, they can learn Thai as a second language. For those who want to train themselves up as young volunteers at 3 p.m., we allow them to act as temple guides to lead newcomers around the temple. And if you want to take a guided tour of the temple, its history, wildlife, and architecture, then you can turn up at 3 p.m. on the third Sunday of the month and have the kids take you around for free. Our next full moon event will take place on Monday, August 19th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 with Venerable Jackie or Daniel on a live transmission to us from Thailand to bring us news from the forefront of meditation in Thailand, and finishing off with a loving kindness meditation, questions and answers. Our final Azusa City Library meditation for this year will take place on August 26th, which is a Monday evening between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m., which is a good chance to meditate together in a more public setting, in case that location happens to be more convenient for you. We also go a little bit deeper on Buddhism once a month in the afternoon of the second Sunday of the month, with what is known as intermediate meditation because it's like 1 hour long. This is followed by a Buddhist lecture, questions and answers. At the moment we are looking at the second part of the Sigalawada Sutta, for those who are interested to look deeper into the scriptures. Lastly, our next outdoor candlelight meditation event is coming up on Saturday, September 28th. And owing to the earlier sundown, it will have registration starting at 6:30 p.m. and the actual candlelight meditation will take place between 7 and 8 p.m. So we look forward to welcoming you in person at any of these events at DIMC at 865 East Monrovia Place, Azusa, California. So today we've been looking at the benefits of meditation for sports performance. For my next live session, which will fingers crossed be a week on Sunday morning, I will really this time move on to look at the Lakkhana Sutta, which is a session about the 32 auspicious signs displayed on the body of the Buddha. So for good measure, I'd like to remind viewers to keep the questions coming in about meditation or topics you've learned in this lecture to the email address that you can see spelled out on the slide. And I'll do my best to answer these on my next session. In the meantime, try to avoid recklessness or complacency, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily. Hopefully, as a result of today's session, you'll be able to leverage meditation more in your sports and fitness activities. So that's all for today. Thanks for viewing. So long, folks, and stay safe.